So in today's session, we are discussing about UI policies, guys. Okay. Why do we need UI policies? Hmm? Okay. So if you go to the form, we created a finance case form, right? We'll open that finance case form from here. Guys, I'll be telling you a little bit slow today because I have I had no sleep last night, as well as I'm feeling a bit dizzy today. Okay. Guys, if you see here, if I have to make a field mandatory, you'll go to a dictionary property and you'll check the mandatory checkbox. Then that field will become mandatory. Okay, if you want to make a field read only, you will go to particular field and you will open that particular field and check the read only checkbox so that the field will become read only. If you want to remove a field from the form, you will go to form design and remove the field from the form. Okay, if you want to remove the field from the form, go to the form layout or form design. So whatever the field that you want to remove, you can remove that field from the form. If you make a field mandatory, it is mandatory always. It is mandatory. Okay. My point is, I don't want to make a field mandatory always. I want to make a field mandatory at certain condition. See, the scholar field is mandatory always, right? The short description field is mandatory always, right? I don't want to make field mandatory always. I don't want to make field mandatory always. Okay. I want to make field mandatory only at certain condition. Okay. So let me scroll down here. I want to make this resolution code field and resolution notes field mandatory, but only when the state is resolved. Only when the state is resolved, I want to make these two fields mandatory. Okay. When the state is not resolved, I want to make these fields non-mandatory. Okay. Getting my point. The resolution code and resolution fields are not mandatory always. These fields are mandatory only when the state is resolved. Okay. So UI policies are used. Okay, UI policies are used to make fields mandatory, read only, display the fields at certain condition, the client side. Okay. UI policies are used to make fields mandatory, read only, display the fields at certain condition in the client side. Okay. Clear, right? UI policies are used to make fields mandatory, read-only, display the fields at certain condition in the client side. So similarly, I want to make a field mandatory at certain condition. So when the state is resolved, only in that case only I want to make these two fields mandatory. When the state is not resolved, these two fields should become non-mandatory. Right click, configure, go to UI policies. Creating a new UI policy. Okay. Creating a new UI policy. Make resolution code and note mandatory. Okay. Getting my point. So condition state is resolved. The state is resolved. So I am unchecking these checkboxes. We'll come to these checkboxes later. I have just created a UI policy. After creating the UI policy, you have UI policy actions here. UI policy actions here. So resolution code, you can see mandatory, true. So remaining we are not touching, right? We leave it alone. Don't touch it. We are making it mandatory, then make mandatory true. Remaining we are not actually hiding. We are not actually making read only. Don't touch the remaining one. Okay. Resolution nodes mandatory true. Resolution code mandatory true. So let me just go to the form here. If you see, are these two fields mandatory? Now the state is resolved. When the state is resolved, these two fields are getting mandatory, right? Okay. When the state is not resolved, those fields should become non-mandatory, right? When I am changing the state to new, these fields should become non-mandatory. This is getting non-mandatory. So that is where in the UI policy, reverse if false condition will come into picture. Reverse if false. Reverse if false means if the condition is not met, revert the changes to normal. If the state is not resolved, make the fields non-mandatory. This condition, this reverse if false meaning is, if the condition is not met, revert the changes to its normal state. I am checking this checkbox. So refresh the form now. You're right. So I am just to refresh this form now. Make the state to resolve. When the state is resolved, resolution code and notes are mandatory. If it is not resolved, resolution code and notes are getting non-mandatory. It is working fine, right? Hmm? It is working fine, right? Okay. So these two fields are getting mandatory only when the state is resolved. Only when the state is resolved, these two fields are getting mandatory. When the state is not resolved, these two fields are getting non-mandatory. See here, two fields got mandatory and these two fields got non-mandatory. Okay. Okay. Now you see here, guys. State has resolved. When it is resolved, it won't allow you to submit if you don't provide resolution code and notes. Okay. So you just submit the form. Okay. Just refresh the form. So what is the state now? State is resolved, right? So when the state is resolved, the resolution code and note should be mandatory, right? It is mandatory. So guys, whenever I am refreshing the form, I'm refreshing the form. When I refresh the form also, when the state is resolved, these two fields should be mandatory. Okay. So that is where you have to check on load checkbox here. If you check this checkbox on the form load, when the state is resolved, these two fields will become mandatory. Now on the form load, I am refreshing the form. State is resolved. These two fields will become mandatory when I refresh this one. State is resolved. Resolution code and notes are getting mandatory here. Okay. Resolution code and resolution notes are getting mandatory. So here, reverse if false means if the condition is not met, it will reverse the changes. Unload means if the UI policy should work on the form load as well, you will check the unload checkbox. If the UI policy should work on the child tables as well, you will check the inherit checkbox. If you check this inherit checkbox, it will work on the child tables as well. So we created finance case task, finance case map, finance case log tables we created, right? So that it will work on all the child table. Let me just open one child table form. Did I check this checkbox? Inherit checkbox. Now I made the state as resolved here. The resolution code and notes are mandatory on the finance case log table as well, right? That means the UI policy is working on the child tables as well, right? The UI policy is working on the child table when you click on inherit checkbox here. You click on inherit checkbox here, the UI policy is working on child tables. If you remember, on the form we can have multiple views. On the form we can have multiple views. We created views on the form, right? If this UI policy should work on only specific view, that is where you will uncheck the global checkbox. If you uncheck the global checkbox, you can select the view name on which particular view the UI policy should work. Case sales view only, this UI policy should work. Okay, this UI policy will work only in this particular view only. If this global checkbox is checked, so that it will work on all the views. Irrespective of views, it will work on all the views. Okay. If this checkbox is unchecked, you have to particularly mention which particular view this UI policy should work. Okay. Guys, definitely in the interview they'll ask about these four checkboxes. What is global checkbox? What happens if I uncheck this checkbox? Global checkbox will actually make the UI policy run on all the views. If you uncheck the checkbox, the UI policy will work on only specific view. Okay. Well, whereas reverse if false, what is reverse if false? If the condition is not meeting, it will reverse the changes. If the UI policy should work on the form load as well, you have to check on load checkbox. If the UI policy should work on child tables as well, you have to check inherit checkbox. You understand, right? Okay. So guys, here in the UI policy, you can also write the script as well. If you scroll up here, there's a script tab here. Okay. You have to check run script checkbox. Okay. So that the UI in the UI policy, you can also write the scripts. Okay. So if the condition is met, execute if in the execute if true, whatever you write here, if the condition is met, this part of script will be executed. If the condition is not met, this part of script will be executed. Getting my point? If the condition is met, this part of script will be executed. When the state is resolved, this part of script will be executed. When the state is not resolved, this part of script will be executed. I'll show you. I am deleting this UI policy actions, guys. Okay. Instead of deleting I am deleting the UI policy actions. Instead of this UI policy actions, now I am writing the script here. If the condition is true, I have to make resolution code and resolution notes mandatory, right? So using script also you can make fields mandatory. The script part I'll tell you in coming sessions, okay? Maybe in 2-3 sessions. Okay. I removed that UI policy actions, guys. I remove this UI policy action. If you see here, the state is resolved, these two fields are getting mandatory. The state is not resolved, these two fields are getting non-mandatory. So using script, we are doing it. See here, when the condition is met, the script is getting executed. This script is making this resolution code and notes fields mandatory. Okay. If the condition is false, the script is getting executed. It is actually clearing the field values. It is actually making the fields non-mandatory. So instead of using UI policy actions, I have written the script. So you understand, right? In the UI policy, you can also write the script. The condition is met, this part of script will be executed. If the condition is not met, this part of script will be executed. Okay, clear, right? Okay, we will create one more UI policy, guys. We will create one more UI policy. Okay. Here in the form, I am actually creating a field called on hold reason field. That is of type string type of field. On hold reason field will increase the length of this particular field. Okay. This field should appear only when you select the state as on hold. When you select on hold reason field should appear, should become mandatory. So here two things should display and should become mandatory. For this, I am going to create another UI policy. Okay. Make hmm, on hold reason mandatory. The state is on hold. Okay. You can either you can use either script or UI policy action. Scroll down and use UI policy actions. You don't have to write the script, right? So here you have to choose the on hold reason field name. Mandatory true, visible true. Here it has to appear and should become mandatory. Two things. If it is not on hold, reverse if false will work, and it will make a field will non-mandatory and field will disappear. Go to the form and refresh this one. Now the state is set as on hold. The field is appearing and getting mandatory. Field is appearing and getting mandatory. The state is not on hold. Field disappeared and become non-mandatory. On hold means field will appear and getting mandatory. Okay. So here this resolved by and resolved at. These two fields I want to make it read only. If I make it read only, what happens? It will become read only on all the child tables as well. Hmm? Instead of that, what we can do is we can create one UI policy. You can create one UI policy. Through UI policy, you can make these two fields mandatory instead of using dictionary overrides. Understand this logic. See, I have to make these two fields read only, guys. If I use dictionary properties and make it read only, it will become read only on all the child tables. For that, we have to write dictionary overrides. We have to write dictionary override on every table. We have to write dictionary override on every table that this field should become non-mandatory on every table. This field should be read only on the finance case table. So in that case, what we will do, we'll create one UI policy. Okay. Right click configure, go to UI policies. Okay. Make resolved by resolved at read only. Instead of using dictionary overrides, if you use dictionary overrides, it will be a complicated one. You can use dictionary overrides. Okay. It will be a complicated one. Instead, what you can do is you can use UI policy. In the UI policy, don't write any condition. Don't write any condition here. Okay. Directly make these two fields read only. Read only true. Don't touch others one. Resolved it. Okay. Resolved at read only true. No condition specified here. This is actually finance case log form, right? This is actually finance case form, right? In the finance case form, the resolved by and resolved at fields are read only. Finance case log form, are these read only or not? We'll see here. Are these read only? No. Only on the finance case form we are able to make resolved by resolved at read only, right? If I use dictionary property and make the fields mandatory, it will become mandatory on all the child tables. Sorry, it will become read only on all the child tables. So even if you use dictionary overrides, you can achieve the requirement, but it will be a little tricky thing. You have to write a dictionary override on every child table. Let us say if you have dictionary override on, if you have dictionary override on 50 tables. I mean, if you have 50 child tables on the table, you have 50 child tables on the table. Okay, you have to write dictionary override and 50 child tables. So that will be a difficult task. So then you can write a UI policy. You can make the fields read only on the particular table. Hope you understand, guys. See, resolved by resolved letter. If you make these two fields mandatory, finance case is a parent table. If you make these two fields mandatory, it will become mandatory. If you make these fields read only, it will become read only on the child tables as well. To override that, you have to use dictionary overrides. If you have to use dictionary overrides, if there are 2-3 child tables, manageable. If there are 50 child tables, you have to write dictionary overrides and 50 child tables. To avoid that, I have directly created a UI policy. Getting my point? So likewise, you can make a field mandatory, read only, show or hide the fields at certain condition. At certain condition based on the condition, you are making fields mandatory, you are making fields read only, you are showing or hide the fields. Okay, you can see we are hiding the on hold reason field here. When the state is on hold, the field is appearing and getting mandatory. When the field is not on hold, field is disappearing. So condition based. Hmm? Okay. On the forms, guys, we have related lists. Related lists. What are these related lists? Those related lists appear after the sections. So let me add some related lists. Right click, configure, go to related lists. Okay. Right click, configure, go to related lists. So there is only one related list called attachments related list. Show it here. So if you scroll down, you can see attachments related list. This is called related list. Okay. If you want to hide these related lists as well, if you want to show or hide these related lists as well, you can use UI policies. Okay. So remember this point, guys. When the state is resolved, this UI, this related list should disappear. When the state is resolved, this related list should disappear. Then what I will do, you'll go to that UI policy. So you can see UI policy related list actions here. UI policy related list actions here. You can click on new here. Attachments, visible, true. Visible, true. Okay. So just go to the form and refresh this one. This is case form, right? Now the state is resolved. These two fields are mandatory. and attachments related list is still visible. Okay, we have to hide it, right? We have to keep visible false. You have to keep. I might have kept a visible true. I kept a visible true here. It should be false. Go to the form and refresh this form. Okay, now the state is resolved. The state is resolved. You can see the resolution code and notes are getting mandatory. The related list disappeared. When the state is not resolved, the fields will become non-mandatory and related list is appearing. That means using UI policy, UI policies are used to make fields mandatory, read only, display the fields and related lists as well. Okay. UI policies are used to make fields mandatory, read only, display the fields and related lists at certain condition in the client side. We use UI policies. Hope you guys are able to understand the UI policies concept. Hmm? No, it is not really that, Raj. UI policies are used to make fields mandatory, read only, display or show or hide the fields at certain condition. Okay. UI policy has its different purpose. It is not that in place of dictionary overrides we use UI policies. You can't you can't consider that. Yes. So it is not server side. Yes. By unmuting everyone, you can ask your questions. You can also do it that also using script. Instead of UI policy actions, you can go to the script tab and check run scripts. You can write the script there. Hmm? Okay. UI policies are used to make fields mandatory, read only, show or hide the fields related list at certain condition in the client side. We use UI policies. Okay. Getting my point. So I told you that in the last, in place of dictionary overrides, we can use this one. I told you, right? So I just told you. I just told you that usually if you go for dictionary overrides, it will take. It is a lengthy task. Instead, if you create a UI policy, it will make your life easy. If you go for dictionary overrides, what happens? If you go for dictionary overrides, what happens? Definitely, finance case task is a parent table. In the parent table, it should be read only. You must check the read only checkboxes. Using dictionary overrides in the child tables, you have to make that non-mandatory, non-editable. So instead of writing all these things, you can create one UI policy that will make your life easy. Anyhow, this UI policy is only working on finance case table, right? We are not checking inherit checkbox. If you check inherit checkbox, if this inherit checkbox is checked, there is of no use. It will act like a dictionary properties. Okay. So that is how UI policies work, guys. There is another concept called data policy. Data policy that we'll be discussing in Monday session. I won't be able to take the session tomorrow. Okay.
సార్
Yes, please.
సార్ డేటా లో నాకు ఒక డౌట్ ఉంది సార్ గ్రూప్ సార్ స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేయండి.
Sure. Yes, please.